cried the sparrow.
You're listening to the Sailing into Oblivion podcast, where we sit down with everyday people who do extraordinary things. I'm your host, Jerome Rand.
Welcome aboard the freight train. The mighty Sparrow freight train. We're tunneling our way towards the Providence Channel, just south of the Abacos, to then cut around, traverse the Great Bahama Bank, or Grand Bahama Island. Grand Bahama Island. Cut across the Gulf Stream, shipping lanes, all sorts of stuff, and then make our way into port. Welcome to day 12. A baker's dozen, a regular dozen. Boy, brain. Let's get a little of that coffee in there. What do you say? I'm gonna dip away from the mic for this. Had to crack into a new jar of Nescafe Taster's Choice instant coffee this morning. Had to get up pretty early. Right now, it is precisely 6:10 a.m. sunrise time. But I've been up since about 4 because we had a couple of targets on the old AIS. I actually woke up and checked before the alarm went off. How's that for snooping it out and getting your sea legs about ya? Tell ya, you can start to do that with squalls after, 100 days or something like that out at sea. But I've never been able to do it with ships. Yeah, I just got lucky. That's all. I'll chalk it up to that. But yeah, I checked it out and I was like, oh man, CPA of 0.4 miles. Why isn't the alarm going off? And then I kind of zoom out and look at it and I was like, oh, because it's like 18 miles away still. So there's two factors with the AIS, the automatic identification system that all cargo and commercial vessels are required to have on board. And anybody with 2 brain cells between their eyes would put on any sort of vessel that they're going to go out and sail alone at sea aboard. And actually, I would think any boat. I would think it'd just be like, why wouldn't you have it? It's not expensive and it's very, very useful. But the 2 factors, it gives you the CPA, the closest point approach, and then it gives you the TCPA, the time to closest point approach. So I set my alarm at 2 miles and a time of 20 minutes. That gives me plenty of time to do any maneuvers and get the heck out of the way, which I actually had to do this morning. The first vessel changed its course a little bit, but the second one didn't, and I kind of wormed my way through them. They were coming out of that. They're all coming out of the same channel that I'm headed in. It's no Gibraltar, straight to Gibraltar or anything like that. That place is like a hot dog factory. If you can imagine a bunch of hot dogs coming off the line, that's what that area looks like. It's just so many ships. It's like a never-ending stream of them. But out here, it'll be, every once in a while, you'll get 2 or 3 of them, and they're all peeling off over to, probably headed to the Straits of Gibraltar, to be honest. Most of them are going to be on a course of about 060 to 050, depending on how they're going, and the Great Circle Route and all that kind of crazy stuff. But yeah, we were yesterday, day 11, just ghosting along. We ended up actually becalmed, and I dropped all sail, and we rolled in an old swell. But I was able to get some sleep, kind of hang out, take a little bath, do a little workout, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I don't know. The wind slowly started to pick up, and I jumped the gun, as I always do, thinking that it's enough to keep the sails from slatting. But with giant drifter and the full mainsail with big belly in it and all that sort of stuff, and me holding the boom, for a little while. We were able to start ghosting along, and it was actually kind of nice. We went through these big swaths of broken up Sargasso seaweed particles. So that's the floating seaweed that gives the Sargasso Sea the name, and you see big clumps of them when they're all put together. Well, this is the first time I ever saw the particulate of them, and it was really kind of interesting because in the 3 to 5 knot winds, excuse me, you're getting cat's paws, as they're called, on the ocean surface. So just the very beginnings of waves. And with the seaweed, whether it's got some sort of chemical in it or it's just the fact that there's something sitting on the surface and it's creating its own little slick, but you'll go through these little convergence zones with the currents or whatever, where the seaweed, everything downwind of the seaweed is glass on the ocean, and then you've got your building little ripples on either side, and it's still windy, obviously, where it's glassy, but typically that's just a tiny little strip. Well, in these particulate areas, there was like huge swath of it, and so it was really kind of neat. I'm sitting there sailing for like a mile or two on what appears to be a plate glass mirror, still rolly with the swell, but a mirror surface, and we're just, slowly chugging our way through it, and, bow wave and everything. And yeah, when you look in the water, you see lots and lots of little particles sort of beaming back at you, and lots of trash as well. That's for certain. Anytime you see the seaweed, you're going to see a lot of the trash. And I saw a few crabs running around, which is always pretty funny. But yeah, we're still 230 miles from the Providence Channel, which is going to put us there probably. I'm going slow. I'm trying to stay slow because I'm trying to learn from Brett and Marissa. Stay slow. Gotta stay slow. Hopefully they're doing well. I have to check in with them at some point. I'm today when I do the Starlink update, I'm gonna check and see how much data I've used, because I haven't really been monitoring that. Because I think you get 50 gigabytes for a month. And if I still have like 40 gigabytes, I'm going to just start FaceTiming people over the next couple of days and give out some hellos from the ocean blue, but they're definitely on that list. Yeah. So ideally, forecast shows awesome wind for the next 24 to 36 hours. Then it drops off a little bit as the next little system works its way down, and then 3 days time it blows 20 plus out of the north, and then switches to the northwest, blows a little harder, or northeast, sorry. And my game plan is to be just at the point of hooking around the south end of the Abacos into protected waters, just as that wind starts to build up. And then, whoop, then I'm pretty much made in the shade, out of harm's way. Not that it would be very harmful, but big difference between 25 knots on the open ocean and in protected waters, that's for sure. And then all I have to do is traverse that from the Abacos to Freeport, and then that's usually one little 24-hour period, and then it's from Freeport to Fort Pierce, Florida. Holy cow, I can't believe we're in the home stretch. I got to remember to take it all in. There was a bit of a listlessness, a melancholy, if you will, aboard ship yesterday. I don't really know what got that going, because it was a beautiful day once we started moving. I think I got a little bit too much sun, and was just kind of like, I also made a phone call, and that sometimes I forget that that's not a great thing to do. when you still have 5, 6, who knows how many days left in the trip. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I always feel loneliest after I hang up a phone out at sea. And sometimes that can continue on for like a day or more. And so that's why I typically try and stick to text updates and stuff like that. And, you know, the other part is just not everybody knows that when you talk to somebody out at sea and they're alone out at sea, you keep the conversation pretty light, fluffy, and happy. And, you know, it's a fragile state a solo sailor is in mentally, and they're in their head. And the last thing you want to do is call them up and be like, oh, you know, by the way, here's some earth-shattering news. Not that I got any sort of earth-shattering news by any means, but just throwing that out there as a public service announcement, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's just knowing the voyage is almost over or what, but, you know, I've kind of snapped out of it, feeling pretty good today. I do know that I only have today and tomorrow with bacon. That could be part of it, quite possibly. I am pretty excited to turn the refrigerator off because I'll essentially only have cheese and condiments and wraps in there after this. So I am down to my last gas bottle, unfortunately. I did not replace my normal LP tank, if you will, or not LP, propane tank that, you know, you'd find on every grill in America. Well, that one ran out. And then I have these two old tanks, and I mean old, like from the 80s. And they were filled down in the Caribbean because no one else would touch them with a 10-foot pole. And these are pretty brutish, heavy-duty old tanks. And I was kind of like, well, they fit really well in the corners of the lazarette. And I don't know. It's, you know, they came with the boat. The boat originally came with 4 of these things. One of them leaked like a sieve, so that one had to go. And the other one, I think, didn't fit in the configuration anymore. Either way, so normally I run with one giant, you know, 20-pound tank, and that's enough for months of usage. But I did not replace it after. I can't even remember the last time I replaced it. So it's a bit of an oversight. But that was one of the things where I had the 2 backups. But I think what had happened was that at some point, your old pal J-Rome forgot that he used up most of the stuff in one of the small tanks. And neglected to note that in the log, maybe something like that. And essentially, yeah, so that one ran out pretty quick, and I was like, oh no, I thought the propane tank or the propane system had clogged up or something had gone wrong. But once I switched it over to the other one, then it was all good, and I was like, oh, okay. So, but I am a little tentative, so I'm no more hash browns. Hash browns take a lot to make, and I'm going to save my last mac and cheese for the night of the crossing of the Gulf Stream. And that way, you know, the priority is just to be able to make coffee. And I normally, again, another oversight. I don't know. I think it was just because I couldn't get them at the grocery store up in Maine, but I have a jet boil on board, and I have a bunch of canisters. Usually I have a bunch of those canisters on board, and I don't have any of those. That, although it's a little more, like I can't, on the range right now, I can just throw the kettle on there, and it's all good, and I can walk away, and I listen for the whistle, and then I'm good to go. Jet boil, you have to kind of hold on to it, and you have to, I don't have one of those little fancy holders that Denker uses or Sam Holmes use. And so I just hold on to it, and that's how I've always done it, always. And I'm only trying to boil water as fastly and efficiently as possible. And, I've said it before, but the largest waste you can ever have of propane on a boat is to constantly be making water. Because typically if you're doing it with a kettle on the range, it's very inefficient. And usually you're boiling more water than you actually need. And you do that over and over and over again, and you can see where that goes. But the jet boil makes it super easy. You make exactly the right amount. It's hyper efficient, and yeah. But I don't have any more of those canisters. I'm an idiot. Oversight. I need an oversight committee on this boat. Oh, that coffee's good. Speaking of which, but at least I've got it noted in my head, and moving forward, I'm going to learn from these mistakes. That being said, I should have plenty of propane for the last couple breakfasts and the last couple of meals that I have to heat and eat. I did eat a can of some sort of sausage jambalaya. I have a couple other cans of some food, and then obviously I've got the long life stuff until my ears bleed on this vessel. So it is pretty crazy, though. I'm out here a bit longer than I thought I was going to be by about, 5 days. I kind of had it in my head that I was going to be pulling in around the 24th. I didn't think I'd get pushed as far east as I was, and I thought those days of motoring, or those nights of motoring, those are always kind of slow. So anyway, I don't know. It's no big deal, but picking's getting thin. I do have Ritz crackers. I got some cheese. What else do I have on board? I've got a bag of rice, so if I need to, I can make that. I do have potatoes. What else do we have? A couple cans of peaches. We got a lot of noodles. I have about a dozen eggs left. I got all the wraps. Oh, and I got peanut butter and jelly. Oh, I'm made in the shade. I'm not going to starve out here. And I'm not going to have to break into the long life food. That's really the crux of the situation, if you will. I did not want to have to do that. But yeah, it's dawn of a new day. And luckily, freight train, like I said in the beginning, circling back to that, we're on downwinder, essentially all the way to the Providence Channel. Then we have one little beat we got to do, and then it should be downwinder all the rest of the way, which I'm super stoked about. I don't mind beating into the wind. We did have a wonderful, wonderful rip ski using that blade. That sail really was a game changer as far as how the boat felt between healing and actual moving forward. So that was kind of a godsend there. But yeah, I don't know. At this point, part of me is trying to enjoy. I'm at this weird impasse, this convergence of currents. I have the one current that's like, dude, take it in. You're not going to be sailing again for another month or two on this vessel. Probably not until February, probably. So, sorry, yeah, at least 2 months. And then the other one is like, dude, there's beer, ice cold, crispy BLs waiting for you. And there's a dock and like a shower that has water that you didn't get out of a hose, which is kind of nice. Sometimes I'm like, my skin gets real dry, and you get dandruff and stuff like that. You get flakes. And the other day I was like, man, but I've been, it's like every other day I'm taking a gallon of water up there and bathing and blah, 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 and, shampoo, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, oh, yeah, because I got this water out of a hose. If I were to go and shower every day at my home out of the hose, I'll bet you I'd feel a little gristly as well. So that made sense. But, yeah. So I don't know, kind of looking forward to that, but also just looking forward to putting a pin in it and getting the boat where she needed to go. and then getting north to see some snow, some of that white gold that's falling all over the place up there. I don't even know. I haven't even checked. Maybe I will. Still have to. It's kind of funny. That's the other advantage of the old Starlink is that I think today or tomorrow, I'm probably going to be able to book tickets for my flight. Rather than actually show up and see what's available in the next day or two, I'm actually going to be able to plan this a little bit better and hopefully mitigate some of the expense, which is pretty cool. And, that's one of the things you think about when you're like, oh, man, it costs like $250 to do this thing for a month and have internet when you're out there. Well, you might be saving more than that just in your airfare if you got to bust out somewhere. And I would think, for sure, back in the day, that was always a hefty cost when we used to do yacht deliveries. You'd have like 3 or 4 crew that basically needed to bounce immediately or else you had to keep paying them. And, sometimes you had to buy flights day of or next day. Yeah, pretty expensive stuff. So, I don't know. The rest of the day today, though, kick back. We're about halfway through the old book. And it's very typical on these trips where, to sort of take my mind off of things and get the ants out of my pants, if you will. I typically dive into whatever book I've been slowly gnawing away at and try and rip this sucker down. It's still 300 more pages or something like that, but it's a Cussler novel, dude. You can fly through 100 pages in one night. Pretty easy. They're just so darn exciting. I love it. Other than that, though, I think that's going to be our update from the morning. I am going to add our new segment on, but I'm going to do that in just a little bit. I think I'm going to have some breakfast. I'm going to go enjoy the rays of the sun. But today, after getting so much sun yesterday, I'm going to try desperately to hunker down in the heat of the day and stay out of the sun because I do not want to get cooked again. Too much working with the sales. But as far as planning, it's all about ETAs. ETA at Providence Channel, ETA for the northerly blow, and ETA for the Gulf Stream. And then the final ETA is to enter the inlet on a flooding tide so that it just carries me in instead of me fighting it. So if I can pinpoint all 5 of those, that would be really great. Were there 5? 1, 2, 3, 4. All 4 of those, then I'm gonna be loving life, and we're gonna do our best. And it's all about speed control and simple arithmetic, folks. Oh, by the way, did my sun sight yesterday for my latitude. I was 1 mile out. Not bad. I figured out my mistake. I was making a mistake the last 2 days. And I'm like, what the heck? How come this keeps... I'm thinking the sex... I'm thinking all these things. It was just one simple, stupid error. And it's amazing. When you have something that takes like 15 steps, just go through and make sure you're doing each step right. Because chances are one of them's wrong, which is basically screwing up the whole chain of results. But go over your work. Double check. That's what I did. I figured it out. So now I'm back to ancient times where I can pinpoint my location anywhere on the earth as long as I have a view of the sun and the horizon. It feels quite old school, which is probably why I'm doing this voice right now. All right. Coming right back at you. All right. Welcome back. Squall edition. We're just going to tack this onto the other one that I did earlier today, I guess. Was it earlier today? Yes, I believe it was. I got spoiled. I got spoiled like a rotten child over the last, week probably, I would say, with all these beautiful starry nights with very minimal cloud action. Barring having a motor, probably one of the next more annoying occurrences out on the high seas is when the squalls start rolling in. And thankfully, we at least have about a quarter moon still up, which is kind of illuminating the sky overall, so I can see the depth of, whether or not it's a gnarly squall or it's something that is going to be like, it should be all right. I'm down to my second reef in the main, and just a staysail now. It's blowing, high teens on a beam reach, going across the wind. It's lovely. We're moving fast, but we're also going into a big dark spot, and we've had a few squalls roll over us. Minimal rain, nothing big, but definitely was poised and ready to rip some sail down if I had to. I'm actually wearing my foul weather bibs at the moment, and it's like 80 something degrees out, so it's kind of warm. But yeah, I don't know, it's one of those things. It's like 8:30 at night, 12th day, and yeah, it's looking like 5 days on the 17th should be when I pull in, I think. That's what it's looking like, and everything's starting to line up pretty well. And the nice part is tomorrow, I think by tomorrow night, either tomorrow night or the very next morning, I will get into a bit more protected water. The winds kicked up today and built the sea state up, and I'm trying to like broad reach, and it just was getting sloppy. There's a lot of current around here too that kind of swirls all over the place as it cuts through these islands, and just sloppy. The motion was not fantastic, and listen to me gripe. I'm just such a lay down Larry right now, because all I want to do is lay down. I just want to sleep, but right now we gotta keep watch. Thankfully, I was able to get quite a few hours today, midday nap ski. That felt great, but I got 2 ships in the vicinity at this point. One's going to be way off, but the other one's going to be overtaking us over the next hour. Oh! And the boat's just kind of on this rolly, ugly motion, unfortunately. It is what it is. I got some nice, delicious, piping hot coffee. It's going to help keep me awake in this lovely little night marine, biggest little boatyard in Maine. Yeti mug that I've got. Thank you to the team up there, Night Marine Service. We should have just hauled out Sparrow, man. I don't know why you guys let me leave. Yeah, just kidding. Just kidding. Gotta go down there, as Murph says, to God's waiting room and enjoy the heat. Although I'm only gonna be there for like a day. Still doesn't matter. Gonna hop a plane and go north, but that's not for a week. So I'm gonna keep focus and keep my head in the game. Oh boy, I sure do look forward to getting off of the high seas. Though I must say, if we were crossing the Atlantic or we were on some bigger, longer trip, this wouldn't really be much of an issue. But knowing the exit and the protected waters in the lee of some of these islands is so close, I don't know. It makes me just like, oh, all right, I'm ready. Let's cut bait and run. It's time. We are finis. But it is what it is, and we're just gonna kind of punch through it. Hopefully, this bank of, I don't know. There's just whatever's in front of me. I can't really tell what it is. Hopefully, it's nothing too tremendous. I figure my game plan going into nights like these, obviously we can just keep downstepping the size of the sails, but immediate action. Let's say all of a sudden we just get blindsided by 25 knots, 30 knots of wind, and rain and all that sort of stuff. boom, dead downwind, ease the main out, drop the staysail down, and then ride it for, see how that feels. We got all the sea room in the world, really, and then if it seems like things are just going to continue that way and build up, then it's more let's try and get hove to, or let's downsize the main down to the triple reef, which unfortunately I don't have my triple reef line in. Like an idiot, I took that out because the forecast looks so benign that I was like, man, I just don't even, listening to the mainsail slat when you're becalmed only gets accentuated when you have 3 reefing lines up there all clattering and clamoring to slap the heck out of the sail as well. So it's kind of like, I'll take that out. I don't, with the double reefed main just running before it, I'm sure I could do that, in like 30 knots of wind. It wouldn't be too big of a deal. But I like the security. I like knowing that if Mother Nature decided she was hell-bent on slapping old Sparrow around one more time, I could toss in that third reef and then, ride it just like a gale. So, mistake on my part. I should have probably, hindsight being 2020, this afternoon when I started seeing the first signs of squalls in the distance and stuff, probably should have, while it was daytime and it was super easy, just lowered the main. Just lower the main. Put that reef line back in, then you're covered. But lazy bones here. Did not do that. Making all sorts of rookie mistakes this trip, which is pretty interesting. I don't know if it's because I haven't been out on Sparrow doing a big trip like this in quite some time, or what the action is. Because, the last big offshore trip was North Carolina to Cape Cod back in July, and we basically motored almost the entire way except for when we were hove to in that little blow. I don't know. I don't think I'm out of practice. I think I'm just lazy and old and lazy. I don't know. Either way, I should probably head up, do a little check ski. Make sure we're. Well, let me just head up there, and then we're gonna come right back. Boing. Oh my goodness gracious! What an absolute beast mode battle we had last night. Where did that even come from? Jeez. All right, little context here. I think where we left off, we were ducking and dodging little squalls here and there under the sliver moon or quarter moon's moonlight, which was great. And then I was like, let me go take a look. Well, what I saw was a sight that I hate to see when I'm out at sea. Essentially, you look onto the horizon and you see clouds or semblance of those, and then you see underneath them a black void as if Satan himself painted the entrance to the Netherland in front of you. It's absolutely just void of anything. You have no idea what you're looking at all. Time and space cease to exist in everything that you're headed directly into, and you just have to just dive right in. Essentially, think of it at World's End when they go over the cliff. Kind of that same feeling, and I actually, because I was like, oh, Lord Almighty, this could get pretty hairy pretty quick. Because it looked like just a big line squall just bearing down on us. I was like, you know what? And I had about 1,000-foot oil tanker off to the port corridor who was pacing me essentially about 3 miles away, doing 8 knots, 8.5 knots, 8.9 knots, I think. And I'm doing like 6. So for hours, I'm watching this guy slowly come up. And I turned up to the north to put a couple more miles in between us for a little while. It's, raining, all this sort of stuff. But irregardless, as I'm coming up on the black void of death, essentially I was like, you know what? It started to rain. The wind started to pipe up. And I was like, I'm going to park here for a second. And we're just going to see what happens. And so back when the staysail, sheet the main in, put the rudder over, all that sort of stuff, and we just wait. That allowed him to kind of get out of the picture a little bit, or at least get a beam of me, so our CPA was going to be well over 2 miles. And then I was kind of like, well, it's raining, so the wind's not going to, I don't think the wind's going to pick up. It still definitely can, but it's just not typical. So I was like, well, let's start sailing again. But we ended up, because the initial blast of wind had about a 90-degree shift in it, we were headed north. And that was all we could make. And I was like, oh my gosh, do I literally need to tack in this rain and start heading south? Oh, because I'm trying to head to the southwest. Surprise! Forgot to tell everybody that. Yeah. And, oh, golly. Coffee is my savior. Yeah, just essentially. So right now it is 6:30 a.m. The light came up about an hour ago. We spent the entire night. Basically, it rained off and on. The winds went from 5 knots to about 15 or 20. So not a huge up and down, but it was about every 30, 45 minutes. Got to a point where it became regular enough where I just stayed in my bunk when the winds dropped. The staysail would bang a couple of times, and then the winds would pick back up. And we held our course. Sparrow, the mighty Sparrow, once again, just held it through the night. And very, very thankful to be able to have gotten any sleep at all last night. I feel like a train ran over me. But alas, the one positive thing, and I know my buddy Laz out there in NYC, if he's listening, I want you to know, man, when you asked me all those many months ago how I stay so positive, I'll tell you, I look for whatever silver lining, and pun intended today, silver lining I can in any and all situations. The only one I can find 2 of them right now. One is that it's light out and I can see what I'm up against. 2, it's been windy and we made miles. This is our last full day on the high seas. So that's how I stay on the old positivity train. Choo-choo! Shout out to Laz, my man. Yeah. Other than that, though, wow. Brutal. I am ready to get off of the high seas, everybody. Yep, it is getting about that time. I'm missing the accoutrement that comes with life on land, at least for a little bit. I'm sure, give me about a week on land, and I'll be like, dude, I want to go back out on that ocean. I need to be pure again. I need to be weird and not be judged by everybody looking at me in the coffee shop. I think that would be a pretty funny experiment. Just to go in and do this podcast, do like a coffee podcast in a coffee shop, in front of everybody. That would be, I think, pretty hilarious. Blatant disregard for anybody else and what they're doing. Welcome to the Sailing into Oblivion podcast, coming to you from a coffee shop here in Petoskey, Michigan. Hey, everybody. Yep, getting a lot of eyeballs on me right now, but you know what? It has to be done. I can picture it. Boy, that sounds like a challenge. That sounds like a major challenge. Although I'd probably end up just getting kicked out of the place. What am I thinking? I'd be a disrupting force because I'd be stupid and loud. And every time I took a sip of my coffee, oh, I mean, I would just be like, rah, what is this lunatic doing? Oh, shout out to Slovenia. Hopefully my slurps have been, and thank you especially for the support. Appreciate it. Yeah, a lot of shout outs. I would not be able to be here right now without all the help from everybody. I really do appreciate it. We are going to, because I didn't see any stars last night, we're gonna forego our new segment. But I will say we're gonna dive right into Orion on the next one. So Orion is actually this is gonna be a little teaser, but Orion's got two big functions. One, epic mythology about what he does and the game he's playing up there in the stars, and two, there are some of the coolest stars and nebula and all sorts of stuff in that constellation. It's gonna blow your mind. Oh man, it blows my mind when I look at it and I see what I'm seeing and know what I'm knowing. Crazy. All right, other than that, I'm going to stitch these three together. We're going to call that good. We're on day 13 of the voyage. We got 140 miles to get to the southern tip of the Abacos, which means we're going to be there tomorrow morning. I hope if the wind holds, it's going to get a little spotty out here. And but my number one hope is that this cloud cover is going to dissipate. Traffic's going to thin out. There's freaking tankers everywhere out here. I hate it. I'm going to eat my last 2 strips of bacon, then I'm shutting down the fridge. What else is in news? I had to wear my foul weather gear last night for the first time in a while. It still works. That's great. Yeah, that's it. That's the news brief. Today, when I unravel the burgee, the old American flag back there, it was making such a cacophony of noise last night. I had to nix it, and I have a little bungee just for that purpose. But now I'm gonna let her fly. I'm gonna let old Glory fly proud on the stern. All right, thanks for listening, everybody, and the next podcast will be the High Seas wrap-up or the I'm in protected waters. How does this feel? Or, you know what? Honestly, it'll be sight of land. I have not seen land now by tomorrow, I will have not seen land in 2 weeks. What does it look like? Is it still green? Is it brown? Is it even there? Is dry land a myth? Till next time.